Spit it out, Joe. All right, we bees alive. Recording. I'm gonna mark that.
You dirty son of a.
That's one way to start the show. Welcome to the podcast. You ready, Joe?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Daddy!
Thank you
so much.
Your face.
Your face.
This is Why He Noted, where fatherhood meets fandom.
Random Kid's face is here.
You just got real quiet.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Oh no! Did it? We adjusted this thing before we got started. I am so not happy with how StreamYard keeps changing my audio. I'm checking it. You tell me. No, it says 79. What do you mean? Okay, let me check StreamYard.
Yeah, Tyler says you were fading in and out.
Well, that might have been because of the music. So if I do this, so it might have been. All right. Okay, so that one was there.
So
right,
go.
Joe, do you know
there's
how
a setting in StreamYard that says automatically adjust mic volume? Turn it off.
I turned that off. You know I turned that off. Unless they turn it back on. I turned that off. It is off. So Joe, you know how to count, right?
I can only count to 4.
We go 1 and then we go.
2, 5, 4.
But then you're killing me. You're like, are you ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. And there I'm hanging out all by myself. You wait till I finish and then you do it. And then
well,
come on, Joe.
I kind of forgot that was a thing.
Every week of the year. Oh my god. Okay. So what do you think what I'm actually really curious. Too late. But I'm actually really curious. When I was counting down, in that instant, what did you think I was counting down to?
I was just like, okay, let's get started.
So for over 6 years, actually 9 years now, we've done this together. Not one time have I counted us into the show, except for the last 3 to 4 weeks, including SaturnCon, where we're calling our daddios to us, and we're gonna get Dante on here. We're gonna get him on here and talk with us. I promise you that.
Daddios, ho! Oh wait, sorry, Thundercats.
All right, I'm gonna stop hanging on Joe because his wife left him this week. By that I mean she's watching on the big TV and won't be commenting. So it's like she's not even here. So I'm just gonna throw out a whole lot of things to make her want to comment. But she can't. Hello, Cassie.
Hey, at least I'm here today.
You know who's going to be here next week? Our friend Hotep is going to be back. Black Lions and Cubs is his brand, and he's the awesome artist who was on right before Thanksgiving, talking about his anime that he creates and his comic books that he creates, and he has a Kickstarter coming around very soon. So there you go. And I see the chat. It is not auto adjusting. So screw you, daddies. I don't know what to question of the week. I'm not fighting my computer. I'm fighting StreamYard.
Question of the week.
Thank you. You've got that. That's is that Malachi or is that Bob?
That was Malachi.
Malachi is getting that right more times than Kurt's shown up this year. So there we go. Oh no, Kelsey can chat. I'm lost. My game. Checkmate. You got me.
It's so easy to checkmate Charles.
Sometimes. What's the question, man?
The question of the week is, what's your favorite kind of sandwich?
So we're going to do this whole dumb thing of arguing about what defines a sandwich.
Maybe. Should we play the Speakpipes first? Let them weigh in first?
All right.
We've got 2 of them.
That way we don't forget this time.
That's right. All right. So the first one comes to us from Tyler, a.k.a. TheFullRunThrough.
One of my favorite kinds of sandwiches would have to be the Monte Cristo sandwich. If you don't know what it is basically a ham and cheese sandwich made on French toast style bread. Sometimes you can put powdered sugar on the top of it. Most people will serve it with like a raspberry preserve either on it or as like a dipping sauce on the side. But it is sweet, it is smoky, it is savory, it is everything you could want wrapped in a sandwich. The first time I had one was probably about 7 or 8 years ago at my cousin's wedding. They had little finger sandwich style, but I do not remember how many I ate. And anywhere I go, if I see one on the menu, which is not many places will carry them, but I will order one. They are fantastic. Also, a hot dog is not a sandwich. If anything, you could argue that a hot dog is a taco. Discuss.
Yeah, it's a poor American taco. That's why Phil buys them 2 for $1 at Sheets, and that is why he has IBS and Crohn's and every other stomach disease. Okay, so look, a quick face.
Costco's hot dogs are super good, but yes, I agree, they're not a sandwich.
Yeah. So I made a face when he said French toast style, because I'm like, okay. In the South, they don't quite make it as delicately as I'm sure the French make it. And it's just overladen egg-soaked bread. And it's just a lot. And a lot of times the egg's not seasoned, so no salt, no real pepper. So it's just like, if you don't put sugar or syrup on it, it's just, somehow you make bread more plain. I don't understand how that happens. I looked it up, and I get it. So it's more of an egg. So I get why you said it's French toast salad. So, but it's an egg dipped sandwich. So according to Google, Monte Cristo sandwich is an egg dipped ham and cheese sandwich that is pan or deep fried. Which I don't like when people deep fry everything. It's just too much. It's too much grease, too much. And I do like some deep fried stuff like a chimichanga. But yeah, the picture for the deep fried version from Bennigan's apparently is a lot of layers of ham and cheese and that, but the standard looks like a very fancy grilled cheese, which I would absolutely do with a little bit of that jam. I don't think I'd put sugar on it though. And I know why you do. I mean, people do that all the time, but I don't think, I think ham would have enough sweetness for me that I wouldn't want the sugar on it.
See, I don't know. I think I might put a little bit of honey on it. I think that might be good.
Do you do that at Chick-fil-A? Put the honey on the chicken biscuit?
I not regularly, but I have done that. Yeah. I had a friend who would put honey on his grilled cheese, just normal grilled cheese. That was a little bit weird to me, but it wouldn't be that far off on this. I mean, it's like you said, it's a fancy grilled cheese. I've never actually tried a Monte Cristo. I think it might be fun.
Me either.
Might be tasty.
I don't see it on menus very often, like you said.
Yeah.
Didn't forget, tonight's question of the week is brought to you by Evan Williams, 1783 90 proof bourbon, and that's what I'm gonna be sipping on this
gin and juice. Laid back. All right,
you're supposed to be the clean, God-fearing one, and I'm the devil. What is the music that you are singing, sir? I'm unfamiliar with that poem.
What's
poem you just recited?
What's that movie with Chris Rock? Heaven Can Wait or whatever, or Heaven Can't Wait? Where he
did he do a remake of that? Because that was
it was a previous one, yes, but I think
it's not a Chris Rock version. Warren Beatty.
Heaven Can Wait, but yes, it is a remake. Or Down to Earth. That's what I'm thinking. Sorry, Down to Earth. Where he died. He's a comedian who dies and comes back as a rich white guy, old white guy.
That might be a rehash of Oh God, which was George Burns. Same thing. He died. Well, George Burns was an old white guy, but he died. And
Down to Earth is a remake of Heaven Can Wait. That's why I was getting them mixed up.
Gotcha. All right.
Anyway, regardless,
nobody listens to our show for a movie critique. That's TV's Travis. Wait, you can't watch that? That's the spinoff. That's the Wish version. We're going to start. Wait, you can't watch that?
That song always makes me think of Down to Earth. So anyway,
hit the button.
Hit the button. All right. So Devocite is also answering the question of the week.
I do like a good sandwich. It can be as simple as a turkey sandwich, a BLT, Philly cheesesteaks, Monte Cristo, a Reuben with sauerkraut, not with Thousand Island, Cuban sandwich. If you're going to go hamburgers, Red Robin and Five Guys make some awesome sandwiches. Well, hamburgers. But hot dog is not a sandwich. I agree. The Earl of Sandwich did not ask for a piece of bread to be wrapped around a piece of meat.
Way the total line there, but also cheater.
He's just like all the good stuff.
Sandwich in the world. Then you went to hamburgers. You might as well throw quesadillas in. Those are a Mexican sandwich. Come on, Devo, pick one, man. Because I love a lot of sandwiches as well. I do, but I'd have to say my favorite is variations of grilled cheese. I love a great grilled cheese. I like I think it's Sarah Lee who makes the bread I like, but it's a artisan bread that's a thicker cut white bread. It's kind of mixed with Italian bread recipes, and you just slather that in butter and you put it grilled down. Then I like multiple cheese. I like all kind of different cheeses from the deli, so I'll play with all the different ones. Sometimes I'll throw some ham or salami in there. Just a good grilled cheese, and you can't eat it without tomato soup. But why would you? Or this,
I mean,
right?
It's a very tasty pairing, so much so that they turned it into pizza, but grilled cheese and tomato soup is just deconstructed pizza.
I know you're being serious, but that is very much like a really dumb bad dad joke.
Oh man,
Joe. And a calzone is not a sandwich either. Okay,
what isn't?
Calzone.
Calzone. I wasn't gonna say calzone. No, I was gonna say a Philly cheesesteak. I
deconstructed grilled cheese.
I love a good Philly cheesesteak. Although Chicago, when I was there, Barry, he took me out to get an
Italian beef,
the Italian beef, which that was dang good too.
Did you do? Do you eat spicy? I think you do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you get a hot Giratina on it?
I just got it however Barry told me to. I don't actually remember.
The Giratina is like a mix of peppers and onions and spices and some, I think, vinegar, and they cook it up next to the meat and then mix. Oh, dude, yeah.
It was. I've actually, that's the only time I've ever had an Italian hot beef, and it was very good. Very, very good. So good. So, now I'm getting hungry.
now, I did claim my favorite sandwich, but do you ever go to a place, you have a specific sandwich at a specific place that you always get? Like mine is if I go to Firehouse Subs, which I do love, not just because I'm a medic and they support firefighters and all that, which is great. They really do great work. But the steamed meats, it's from New York firefighters. They steam these meats, and I'd never even thought about that. Like, what does that even mean? And it's really good. But I always get the turkey with Swiss and mushrooms, even though I want to try all the other sandwiches. And I have tried some other sandwiches. They're good. But I get that one. I think it's the Engineer. I get it every time I go there because it's just so good with the mushrooms and the Swiss cheese or I think it's Swiss cheese and the turkey. Oh, so do you have a specific place that you get a specific thing at?
No, the only thing that comes to mind is my in-laws really.
So that was a good one. I have
that
had
is yeah. Firehouse the Smokehouse brisket is
good,
very good.
It is, but I just every time I try to make myself try something else, but I don't go to Firehouse that often. Maybe once a quarter at most, And so it's like, I'm just gonna get my mushroom sandwich. That's what I love. But yeah.
My in-laws really like Jason's Deli, and when we go,
I think I've been there once.
Yeah. So when we go there, and my kids love going there because they've got the ice cream machine that they can just go up and get however much ice cream they want. But when we go there, I usually get a I don't even remember what it's called. It's a some kind of turkey club. It's got turkey, cheese, bacon, ham, I think it's got some guacamole on it as well. That one's very good. Or if I go to say like an Arby's, I'll get their French dip. I really like Arby's French dip.
I always get the beef and cheddar. I mean, the French dip's good. Yeah, I always get the beef and cheddar at Arby's.
But
just again, I don't go there very often. I'm like, that's my trash food. Yeah, because it's nacho cheese. It's not even real cheese. It's like processed, non-dairy, whatever cheese. But yeah.
See, 5 years ago, I guess now it feels weird saying that. When I guess it was only 4 years because I got it towards the end of 2020. But anyway, regardless, when I got COVID and most of my taste had gone, one of the first things that came back was roast beef. Like I could actually taste Arby's. And so when we would go out to eat, more often than not, I'd say, hey, can we go to Arby's? Because I can actually taste it. And so I was eating the French dip every time we went there. So yeah.
All right.
Roll that dice. Woo! Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out.
How'd you miss?
I missed. It's a box. And guess what's not in the box? One of the dice.
What are you nerding out about?
Oh, we're jumping right in. So
That's right.
You want to rock, paper, scissors? Who goes first? Or
Nah, you go first. I usually go first. You go first.
Okay. So I am absolutely nerding out about Lycan Solomon's Odyssey. That's a jersey I'm wearing tonight. Oh, what, Charles? You have plenty of jerseys. Yes, I do. But this is my new one for book 3 because I'm a chief financial backer. I'm also, when I say I'm an executive producer, I put a lot of effort and energy into marketing it, promoting it. I give Dennis money to support the book. And because of that, I get a whole bunch of nice swag. First jersey I ever owned was Lycan. And it's a beautiful jersey. Actually, every year's been he keeps one-upping himself every year. I think a swan named Emily helped with this color layout and design. It's just gorgeous. So tonight I'm wearing my orange and burgundy brand new Lycan jersey, which my name on it is linktr.ee/rgop42. But I've got my numbers and my QR code. But I wanted to run through, I'm not going through the whole entire box, but I wanted to run through a few cool things. So go over to Linktree/wise_n_nerdy, and you need to go to YouTube and see the whole show, and you can fast forward to this part, or you'll go to the clips. Both there are right there at the top of our Linktree, and you can go to WNN clips, and I'm sure Joe you'll cut out this part so that it can be standalone as you do. But I got this gorgeous big 3D print. I always call him Ferdinand. That is not his name in the book. It's actually just Solomon because there's no name for the monster as yet, if there is ever going to be one. And it's just a nice thing. I should paint it. I'm never going to. I don't have the patience. But it's nice. Then I got this tiny little minifig in a cage to go with, and that was cool. Of course, I got my new jersey, and I've got Ferdinand I can sleep with. It's a hand crocheted one, and I really wanted the big boy. The big boy it was like 14 inches. I think this is an 8-inch or 10-inch plushie, crochet plushie, but it had the time appropriate hunter kind of skirt on it, if you will. I don't know what to call that thing, but it's not a skirt.
Okay.
But caveman
loincloth.
Loincloth. Thank you, loincloth. This is more shorts, board shorts, but I love it. And one more thing. I buried it. Of course, I got my hard copy of the book, which he inscribed, which is really great. But I got to show you my death page. So one of the reasons he hooked me with the jersey and with the fact that I can be in every book but the first one, because nobody's in the first one, because he did a Kickstarter after he finished the first one, and then you started getting death pages in the future ones. So I've been killed. I'll be killed in every single book until the end. And at the end, we're talking about just me coming out, in art, drawn form as some kind of secret conspiracy character throughout the whole entire arc. But here, Joe, is my death page. This thing's bigger than my head. This huge print, and there I am, dying horribly, as he likes to do. And every book, I mean, the last one I got my head and jaw separated by the wolf from behind. This time it's two gods basically fighting. So I get caught in the storm that ensues from their battle and get flung out of town with all my entrails hanging out and no arms. So there you go. So I love one. I do love this book. It's a great comic book. Dennis Robinson does a great job with it. Everybody should absolutely go, and if you're into werewolves, of course. If you're not, then yeah, don't go read it. Actually, do go read it anyway. It's okay, but he really does a lot of research on lore of the areas and ancient mythology, and works all kind of crazy cool stuff in. So that is what I'm learning out about. Joe, top that, will you?
So I'm nerding out about Violet Evergarden. It's an anime that my wife and I watched on Netflix. It has one season, a special episode, and 2 movies, and then it kind of sort of has a third movie, but the third movie is just a clips collection from the season. So it's not like a full movie. Anyway, the final movie won several different awards. Like I'd have to double check on Rotten Tomatoes, but I want to say it was rated 100% by the critics and 99% by the audience. Yes, I just double checked. That is spot on. 100% by the critics and 99% from the audience. So very well received. It is about a girl, really, because she's only 14 at the start. And there's flashbacks to when she's a little bit younger than that. She was given to an army major and he was told to use her as a tool for war. And so she is in the army, and you don't really, the army aspect is shown almost exclusively through flashbacks. But it sets the premise for her, because when the major receives her, she can't really talk. She can't read or write. And she's basically a feral animal.
So she went into the army. Got it.
Yeah. And by the end of her time in the army, she has lost both of her arms. And so she's got these mechanical arms. The other than the arms being a lot superior of technology, everything else technology wise is like just before the telephone is invented at the start of it.
Okay.
But her arm
and black powder weapons.
Yeah, there's guns and swords and
so
stuff. But
steampunk-esque, if you're talking about she has metal arms.
Kind of. It reminds me
like 2020, 30, 24
yeah.
cyborg arms.
Other than her arms being weirdly advanced technology, everything else seems like World War I era technology ish.
Okay.
So and so she I
obviously don't remember when the telephone was invented. I went way older than World War I.
No, and she is very, very stunted, and especially emotionally stunted. And so she doesn't understand people's feelings. And so after the war is over, she gets a job as they call them auto memories dolls. Basically, they have a typewriter and they type up letters for people who either have trouble expressing themselves or are illiterate. And then they mail them. She works at a post office as an auto memories doll. And her goal is to try to understand people's feelings, which is a bit backwards, because usually that's a prerequisite to becoming an auto memory stall, because you have to understand the meaning of what people want to convey in their letters. And so it's very much a character study. There is little tidbits of action when you get the flashbacks of the war, but it's primarily a character study, and a very emotional, just emotional in general. Like, there's a couple different times where she does letters for people who are dying, and they know that they're dying, and they want the letter delivered to a loved one or multiple loved ones after they are gone. And they do a fantastic job of making you invested and making you feel the different emotions that they're trying to convey. And the animation is gorgeous. It's a very, very well written story. And it was like my wife put in the chat, Violet Evergarden was so good. And if you want to hear even more of a rundown on that, where I'm gonna be on a podcast called, I mean, you've never heard of this podcast before, but wait, you haven't seen, with TV's Travis, where we're gonna go more in depth. I'll be on that February 9th, so in a couple of weeks here. So actually a little over a week. But
so
yeah,
that
anyway.
was the question I was going to ask. One, I've heard that's a great little upstart new podcast. That glad you're reaching out and helping him out as a pro. That's great. But I was going to ask about the Evergarden. So it's not something you need to know the story on to see the movie?
Not necessarily, but if you wanted to not spend the time watching the season, I want to say the first season is 13 episodes, so it's not terribly long, and they're 22-minute episodes. But if you're not wanting to invest that time into it, that third movie that they put out, I didn't actually watch it because it's just clips of the first season, but I would assume it gives you plenty of information for the movie. And you don't actually have to have seen the first movie to watch the second movie, because the first movie isn't referenced at all. So yeah. So if you watch Violet Evergarden Recollections, that's the clip show of the first season, and then Violet Evergarden the movie. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think you have to have seen anything prior to the movie, to be honest. As long as you go in knowing that she was in a war, she was a soldier, she's not in the war anymore, she is now a doll that types letters, and at the end of the war, she calls him the Major. He went missing and is presumed dead, and she is still hoping he's alive somewhere. And the reason why she's hoping that is because he had some final words for her that because she was emotionally stunted, she didn't know how to respond. So,
and the reason I ask that is not necessarily so I would jump in, but typically in what you haven't seen, it's a movie, just a singular movie. So I'm curious I'm definitely going to be listening. I subscribe to the show, so I'm definitely going to be listening to see how Travis tackles it. And I'm assuming he probably won't go watch the 13 episodes. So that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, well, and I mentioned to him that that it would probably be fine if he skipped them, but if he wanted to get the gist of it, that he could watch Violet Evergarden Recollections, the clip show. I think it's about an hour and a half to watch for that. So, but they do a well enough job of letting you know what you need to know in the movie that I think it in and of itself could be a standalone.
Okay.
Roll that dice.
What about them Speakpipes? Y'all need to call me, yo.
I couldn't remember exactly how that was. I was like, hey, I'll do a little promotion while you're rolling dice. Doubles.
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 A commercial break would be good right now.
Would it, Mojo Jojo? Because we just got started. But you know, fine. If Mojo Jojo says so, let's go with an oldie but a goodie. So, hey, the camera's not going back to Joe because it's stuck on the dice, but that's okay. Oh.
Don't you just love those dice?
You know, as my daughter said, give us a call. That's wiseandnerdy.com/calldad and leave your voicemails as well. We do the question of the week ahead of time, so you can pop in there. You can share your stories, experiences, what you're nerding about just in general. Or, you know, if you'd like to argue with us, we'd love to hear that too. So wiseandnerdy.com/calldad. And then if you really want to support the show, be a part of what we do, patreon.com/wise_and_nerdy. That'll get you some awesome conversation, a great group of people to be in, and you support your two favorite daddy-os, even though one of them forgets. That's how we start the show.
Daddy-os!
Kind of went all 8-bit gamey right there in the middle. That's cool. So, all right. What is our question of the week coming up in the near future?
All right. So for the February 20th live stream recording, the question is, what's the worst movie you've ever watched? So not the worst movie you've ever heard of, but the worst movie you've actually sat through and watched.
That's pick one.
I mean, I guess you could mention more than one, but
we have Salty Sings the Hymns. You didn't grow up bad Southern Baptist, so you don't know exactly what that reference is, but I just triggered a whole bunch of people with that phrase. Salty was a hymnal, a psalm, if you will. It would sing. It was so. All right, what's the worst movie you've ever watched? Coming up on February 20th. And I know we have a follow-up to last week. Do we have a speak pipe we need to play, or is that going to be later for a bad dad joke?
We have 3 speak pipes because one came in while we've been sitting here recording. So let's go ahead and start with Tyler, the full run through.
The question of the week is, what scene?
Nope, we're not doing that.
You gotta label these things better, people.
All right, so that is going to answer. Let's see, what is the sad scene? Oh yeah, what scene hits you the hard no matter how many times you've watched it? And that is for in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna go into my system and rename that and. So we can save it. So then now we're back down to 2, and these are both from Devocite.
I was laughing when Charles was talking about us Northerners not being able to handle your heat. Now, I've been through Georgia. It's been a few years, but I've been through Georgia in the middle of the summer, and I didn't feel any different than when I was at home here in Columbia, Missouri. As a matter of fact, I checked it out. Apparently, the high temperature... We actually have an average of 97 degree high, and you have an average high of 95. So we actually have hotter summers in the north, at least where I live, than you have in the south. We also have that, just like Atlanta, that lovely Gulf humidity. So I understand it, man. I get it.
I know you do.
People come here and complain the same way. If you just go 2 hours north, you get up in Iowa, and they have this magical line that just drops off, and they have wonderfully nice temperate summers, but not here, man. So I'm with you. Georgia, for me, it's just an annex of where I live. The one difference is we get much colder winter than you. Matter of fact, last week, I think it hovered, it was like -5 degrees Fahrenheit. One night, it stayed below 0 for a couple of days. We may not be able to trade summers, but I sure as heck would love to trade you winters.
Well, I'm not taking that trade. I'm getting Batoof for a very good Pokemon. But no, my only irritation is, John, you're not the North. You are a little bit more north than Georgia for sure, but you're not the North, especially if you're getting that Gulf humidity, sir. North is our good friend Run Jump Stop Bill Fairchild, who I think is in New York, who cried. He didn't really cry, but who cried rivers of tears talking about he was stationed at Fort Stewart, I think, during boot camp or something for a couple weeks, and he was sweating in the shower. Come on, you pansies. Now, I'll give you, Devo, you might be a little bit tougher than most people because you got zero winters, sub-zero winters sometimes, and you definitely get that higher heat. And it's not, and you're right, it's not necessarily about the heat, it is the humidity, but that is really, but also, Devo, I don't think I recall you ever once saying, "Oh, you guys in Georgia don't know how to handle it, man. Why are you crying about the driving on the ice?" So you're getting a hall pass. You're getting a daddy-o pass. You're not the North. When I say the North, I mean the Great White North, like upwards of Philadelphia and crap. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that jerk writes Lycan. All right, and we've got another one from Devocite talking about winter weather.
Hey, Joe, you were talking about doing donuts in the parking lot. Yeah, it was one of my favorites also. One time, my friend and I were doing donuts in the parking lot. I had chains on my tire, and just big parking lot, nothing in between. And we're taking off across, and I turned really hard, hit the gas. And when I did, the chain broke loose. And I heard this noise, this whack. And we flung around because now I have one tire with the chain, one without. And we turned all the way around to just in time to see the chain fall out of the sky right in front of the car.
Oh,
we sat there for a moment, and of course, what do you say? That was awesome. And then we just kept doing donuts. And this time with only one chain, which made it even more fun.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're really triggering the dad in me.
What'd you say?
We're supposed to go over like 20 miles an hour. They're really supposed to be less. 2, if you're gonna do donuts, you don't want traction. That's the whole point of donuts. 3, you're lucky it didn't destroy your car. 4, go to your room.
Would you say that the later donuts were off the chain?
No, I would never say that. Oh my God, Joe. So, true story. Never did donuts in my entire life. Have zero interest, other than I was interested at some point going to the State Patrol Academy down in Forsyth, Georgia. Is a huge training area for firefighters, EMS, and police. But the police hog it because they're always hired and fired, and they have to have the training.
They hog it.
Okay, fine. That was unintentional. But yeah, there's big, take up all the space. But there's a big skid pad. There's a driving class you can take there, and it's how to handle when you lose control of the vehicle. So they put you in a car. It's a huge skid pad, slick as crap, all wet down, and you get going. And when you get to a certain speed, they hit a button, it locks down your tires, and you've got to keep control of the car. And that's how you learn to. That's the only time I wanted to do something like that. Other than that, you boys are crazy. Oh, let's just go to a parking lot and let's do donuts with chains. Joe, you're like, I'm gonna teach my kids how to drive in the winter in the parking lot. Come on, man. That's how you hit the one light pole in the middle of an empty parking lot because you didn't see it. No, come on.
Clearly, you just need to know how to drive on snow.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that was our speak pipe. So we had a follow-up to Tyler. Last week we did the Parliament of Papas about split households, right? Second marriages and stepkids. So go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So for those that don't remember, the context was they were sending their high-functioning autistic child to the biological father's house, and they had consulted with a doctor to improve his diet and nutrition. They had a meal plan already based on the doctor's instructions, and the biological father had completely ignored it. Now, we had some questions that weren't 100% clear to us in the context, specifically just about various things. And so Tyler commented on Discord saying that, number one, they provided the documented proof of the doctor's recommendations.
That's the only one we really weren't sure about. The rest we pretty much estimated that they had done.
Well, and then the other one, we had a question on whether they had prepped meals or whether they had planned meals.
We both inferred that they had prepped them and sent them.
Well, and they did. He did use the term prep, and he confirmed that yes, they sent the actual food over for the week to feed him for the weekend to the biological father's house. And so to me, that is there's only so much you can do, and you did everything that you could to get them to follow that plan. And so I stick with my previous comment of document exactly what happened and them disregarding it, because if you ever need a court order to try to enforce them to abide by doctor's orders, then having the documented interactions that they are not following it will be a boon in the legal system. And I hate that it might come to that, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You can't control their household. Tyler,
can you really take legal advice from a man who says off the chain donuts? I mean, he did say that the advice that we gave, really, regardless of the facts, and those were, we inferred a right fact, and the other one was a guess, but still, the paperwork obviously didn't matter. But the advice we gave really hit home and seemed to help out, and that's really all we aim for, is to point you in a direction, and hopefully you get something out of it. So there is all that. All right, just nice and easy, Joe. Easy on the gas. We don't want to slide into the ditch.
All that nice.
All right. We got a
Daddy,
one.
Tell me a story.
Hey, that's our boy
Bobby, who is going to be at Southern Fried Gaming Expo, and hopefully we will too.
I'm pretty sure we will, because last year, the gentleman who runs it, Patrick, he actually came into our panel for a few minutes, and anybody who runs a con or does anything high level, and he runs it, but anybody who does anything high level with con, they're super busy. So he actually took 5 minutes out of his day to come and see and check in on our panel, and really enjoyed that time that he was in there, because we ran into him. Well, we got Bobby Blackwolf to introduce us to him after the panel, and he asked if we wanted to come back again this year. So, and that was then. So yeah, we're absolutely gonna do that. So we're gonna apply, and I'm fairly confident we'll get in. We do a good job. But
if they let in the likes of Bob Magoo, they're gonna let us in.
And aren't we the ones who told Bob to try to get to that one, because they definitely want some non-gaming content or different gaming content?
You had mentioned it to him, yeah.
Yeah. So you're welcome, Bobby. You're welcome. All right, Joe. This is your story, all about how you showed up to college with $50 in your bank account.
I
know you told me before, but I think that was on our pre-Patreon release shows, whatever. So for the live world, you showed up to Mormonology 101 with $50. And in the rest of the story, you didn't really have a place to stay either.
That is correct. Yeah, so I had just gotten off of my mission trip for my church. I had $50 in my bank account. When I got home, it was to a house I had never lived in.
Oh, yeah.
And it was completely empty.
I moved while you were on mission trip and didn't tell you.
Yeah, well, they did tell me, but yeah.
Funnier to say they did. Come on, Joe.
But yeah, so my mom was in an assisted living facility because she had terminal cancer. My younger brother was living with some friends from high school. And so, I went to this empty house, and I was only there for a couple of weeks, and then I $50 and my truck and everything I owned in the back of my truck, and it had a cover on it because it wasn't gonna fit into a tiny little dorm room or whatever.
I was picturing the Hillbillies where you had the rocking chair on top of it and everything.
and so I drove to college. It was about an hour and a half away from where my mom's house was, which ironically my mom's assisted living was about halfway between the house and college. So I was technically I drove past my mom to get to college. And I showed up, nowhere to live. The only thing I had planned was I talked to my cousin, and she said I could roll out a sleeping bag on her floor and sleep there the night. And so
not the semester, the night.
Yeah. And so I started calling around, and I had a list of different recommended apartment complexes. And so I just started going down the list, and everyone's like, yeah, we don't have any vacancy. You can get on the waiting list. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to help me. I need to be in somewhere tomorrow. I don't care about your waiting list. And so
I'm a future podcast award winner, Joseph Hard.
Yeah. And so I'm about halfway down the list, and I reached someone that said, about an hour ago, someone called and said they weren't coming back this semester, so I've got an opening. If you want to stop by and take it, I will bypass the waiting list. And I'm like, I show up knowing full well I'm gonna take it because I don't have anywhere to live.
No choice.
So the manager came out and she showed me the apartment. I'm like, it's a roof. Sounds great. I'll take it. Can I move in tonight? And she's like, no, you can move in tomorrow. I'm like, all right, that's fine, because I have somewhere to stay tonight. I mean, if worst came to worst, I could have slept in my truck. It had bucket seats. So I could lay across the bench seats, rather, not bucket seats, bench seats. Okay. And so I could lay across the bench seating. It wouldn't be the first time I'd slept in my truck. So I ended up having a place to live. Next thing I had to do was figure out how I was gonna pay for everything. Now I did get some financial aid and whatnot. Filled out my FAFSA.
So let's come back to that point. So was this like an apartment type lease, or was this part of the campus dorm inclusive living?
It was an apartment.
So you had to find out how are they going to rent you an apartment with no job and $50 in your pocket, broke college student? How'd you get through that?
That is a great question. They were very flexible with letting people pay when they could.
The magic underwear, because holy cow, man! I mean, obviously you did it. Obviously, you made good on your debt. But holy,
no, I think I want to say I even had a conversation with him, letting him know that, look, I'm going to be getting my financial aid here in a couple of weeks, and I can pay then, type of thing. And so that it wouldn't surprise me if they had that conversation a lot, where, wait a couple of weeks and I'll have my financial aid and I can give it to you. Because with my dad already gone and my mom in a care facility not making any money, my FAFSA, they're like, yeah, you're poor. Here, have a Pell Grant. And so, yeah. I got financial aid, and that first semester, that first year, because the way that the system worked is if you take out a loan, you take out a loan for the year, and they split it between the 2 semesters that you go. And so that first year was the only loan I took out for college at all, because the rest of it I was able to pay for between financial aid and working.
So did they not have dorms, especially for? I mean, Brigham Young's already helping offset your tuition because you're Mormon and all that jazz. And in-state? I don't know if there's an in-state bonus or not, but did it not have
No.
like, hey, you can also live here as part of this because you broke?
There were dorms, but no, it was you had to pay for the dorms, and the dorms also didn't have like a full kitchen. They just had, from what I was told, they had like a mini fridge and a microwave, and that was about it. And so I was like, yeah, no, I want to actually be able to cook and whatnot, and not be on.
Now you got me intrigued. I do not picture 18, 19, 18, 19, yeah, right?
21.
21. Okay, 21.
20, almost 21. Yeah.
Let's call it 20. Fine. I don't picture a 20-year-old pre-Embrace underscore Joe Ard as a master chef going, I gotta have my full kitchen. I picture a $50 in the pocket Joseph Ard going, I can eat ramen out of the microwave all day long. So what kind of culinary skills did you carry to school with you, man?
I mean, I definitely did a lot of just microwaving frozen burritos and ramen and stuff like that. But I in addition to that, I would make pancakes. I'd make soup. I'd make tacos, all kinds of stuff. Like when my now wife, when her parents came to visit, I made them loaded potato soup, and when my father-in-law came, in addition to the loaded potato soup, we had steak. When my mother-in-law came, we had loaded potato soup and salad because, well, I didn't have any steaks on hand, and well, my wife said she wanted a salad.
Women don't get steak.
And it was very fortuitous that I ended up where I did, because as my wife put in there, it happened to be the apartment complex where my wife was living, and so we met my first semester there at college. And yeah, we went on our first date towards the end of the semester, and then she was gone for a semester, and then we officially started dating when she came back.
And when she came back, we were on a break.
That's right, we were on a break. But yeah, it was a trying time. I was able.
I don't think I've ever heard that part of the story. So I'm gonna put it into Daddy Tell Me a Story because that's part 2. But for the podcast listeners, Kelsey, she didn't take his middle name. She only took his last name, Ard. She didn't take the underscore part. I don't know why she did that way. But Kelsey, not underscore Ard, says because I asked him out, and I'm pretty sure, even when we talked relationships on this show, that you did not share that part. So that is going to our notes for another episode.
I thought I had, maybe not. But yeah, we can definitely talk about that another time. But yeah, I between financial aid and several different part-time jobs and selling plasma. I mean, you don't really sell plasma. You donate your time and your plasma, and then they give you a reward because you're not allowed to sell the plasma. So you're not anyway. The plasma money was what I used primarily
for the anti-plasma center. You gotta tell me if you're a cop.
Yeah,
you just oversold that one. I think you might not fit here at this plasma center, sir.
The plasma money was what I used for my date money. So
how much was it then?
The plasma? About $50 a week. You went twice a week.
It's about the same. Yeah.
So
they start to hire to hook you in, but yeah, it definitely settles like a 45 and 90 cycle.
Yeah. In the last time I donated plasma was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was because they sent me a postcard saying that if I donated X amount of times within 3 months, they'd give me an extra $1,000, and I'm like, yes, sign me up for that. So, and I used that money to help buy my current computer. So, but anyway, yeah. So I've during college, I worked as an early morning custodian for a lot of it. So started my shift at 4 a.m. I did a couple of different call centers where you cold call market calls. So, everyone loved talking to me.
rough job, the cold call market.
It is, especially because your pay is like you have a set amount that you're paid per hour, but depending on how many surveys you get completed, your pay per hour actually increases. And so there were.
And we say set amount. It's minimum wage, but or maybe a little higher. Yeah, I mean it was, especially back then, minimum wage was $5, $4 somewhere in there. And so yeah, I mean if you sold to people who didn't want to be sold to, you can make $8, $9 an hour.
Sold. It wasn't a sales one.
I mean,
It was
on the specific
surveys.
The only one I've dealt with is the sales centers, but yeah.
Yeah, no, mine was market research, and a lot of it, like there was one. So I worked at two different call centers. One of the call centers, I really, liked being a relative term. I was happy when I got calls for a specific financial company because their surveys were literally a minute. Like if you just answered the questions, you could be done within a minute. And I would just tell people when they tried to give me pushback, I'm like, this will literally take a minute if you just answer the questions, it'd be great. And so by doing that, a lot of people would answer the questions because it was a real short survey. And so I actually had a lot of success getting people to do that. Whereas at the other call center, I got put on one survey where depending on how they answered, it would trigger additional questions. And so it could the call, if they answered it the long way, could take up to like 40 minutes. And it was a grueling 40 minutes. I'd never completed a single, like I got one to where they were like 30 minutes deep and then they hung up on me and I was like, oh
yeah.
So
that's
close.
Where you really have to have the skills. I don't know who could have the skills of getting somebody hooked into talking to you, and you're making it fun for them to go through whatever this trudge of 30 minutes, man. That's a lot.
And you were only allowed so much leeway to go off script too.
Of course, right.
And so yeah, I only did that for one semester while I was considered off track. So because of my mom's situation, I couldn't go home when I wasn't at school. So I just stayed at my apartment. So I wasn't going to school, but I was still living on campus, basically. I mean, it was technically off campus by a block, but I was still living in the college town. And so I couldn't do the early morning custodian job for the school because I wasn't an attending student during that semester. Which they ended up actually changing that later, where people who stayed on their off track could still work on campus jobs.
You're still technically tied to the school. You're committing to coming back. You're just taking a break off.
Yeah. So because BYU, they call it a 3-track system where they do 3 semesters a year and they rotate. You get assigned 2 of the semesters, and then you have 1 semester off. Wouldn't
that be the summer semester?
It rotated. It
depended.
So
there's a fall semester, a winter semester, and then summer semester.
Yeah. So I was assigned the summer fall track.
So you did all your stuff straight through, got to Christmas, and then had 3 months off.
Yes, essentially. And so so it depended on what you got assigned, but that way they could do that extra semester and get people done quicker, because you could actually petition to be there that other semester, so you could do all 3 semesters, but you couldn't get financial aid for all 3 semesters.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Because most financial aid,
it's based
the
on
normal thing is based on 2 semesters a year. So yeah, I couldn't afford to go all 3 semesters.
You're talking about struggle jobs, right? And struggle foods, but I like off the shelf ramen. I got to introduce Joe to real ramen. Not long ago. I forget which con we were at, but it was
it was Conjuration.
Conjuration. Yeah.
We went to Volcano.
Yep. And man, I can't wait to introduce you to udon. Udon is if you like ramen, you can.
Yeah, I haven't tried udon.
Udon's so, but I still like actual regular ramen. I mean, it was always a struggle food, but struggle jobs. Hated every last one. I worked at a roller skating rink, taking care of the skates during the week, during the day. So yeah, nobody to interact with. But I did work at home call center for Shop NBC, QVC, HSN. Back in the day when they were huge on cable, and hated it so much. It's cool to be able to sit at your home and your computer, in your own house, and log in and that. But it was cool enough. Like I like the night shifts because they were always selling one of like 4 things. Red Cross blood drive, which is so easy. And no, that's the thing. I'm not calling out. That was my thing. Cause I thought about going to a call center to do call outs, but I met somebody who did that and it sounded miserable. And I'm talking about sales call outs. And
I see that would be even worse than mine.
Exactly. You weren't that happy with that one. Sales is probably worse. But these are call ins, so they're already wanting to buy something. But man, the upsell on everything was crazy, and I hated it. And I'll get into that part in a second because the part I did like was I did the late at night ones because you're only selling Red Cross blood drive. There's always a hurricane, fire, or earthquakes. We always had the Red Cross donations, right? So that's easy, and there's no real upsell on that. That's easy. Then you had the era of Girls Gone Wild, so that was an easy sell. Then at the same time as Monster Ballads, right, Joe? I don't know if you remember late at night that if you love Poison, you'll love this, and it's the Monster Ballad hits, and it's just all that seen on TV.
Now that's what I call music.
Yeah. It was that kind of era. Power ballads, monster rock. It's all that stuff. So that was always the easy gigs because it's the drunk people who, either it's people who want to donate to help, or it was, I want to get this monster ballad. Well, if you like monster ballads, you'd like, that's what we call Kid Rock Volume 2 or whatever. I almost eliminate out. So anyway, so good. But in the daytime, I hated those because somebody would see something on Shop NBC, right? You go, I'm going to buy this computer. Now, I was already a computer guy, and I'm already going, they are charging you 3 times as much if you just met a geek to build it for you, or at least twice as much if you just go to CompUSA. Yeah, that was the era. CompUSA or anywhere like that and buy one off the shelf. Right. So I'm already it's driving me nuts. But it was before they even got this. Okay, cool. Well, what about, would you like this? Would you like that? No. And hey, don't try to upsell me. And I finally start getting real with them. I'm like, I'm sorry. I will get fired if I don't read this. Just get ready to say no. We'll burn through it. I promise. And I got in trouble for that, but it wasn't necessarily against the rules because I asked them for every upsell, but it was, okay, here's a computer that's $1,000 and you're going to take the payments, right? And so, yeah, I'll do the payments because that's whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, you're going to need some power strips. Would you like a power strip for $30? Well, no. Then like, would you like a printer for $500? Printers were like $100 at Walmart. You're having I hated it so much. And finally, I just said, enough's enough. And I found some other job. But nowadays, depending on your age, the struggle jobs are actually a lot better, or can be. You're talking about DoorDash, Uber Eats, Lyft, Uber, Roadie, things that you can do with your vehicle on your own. That's you still got to hustle, but it's a lot. You don't have to upsell.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time I got a legitimate sales call. Like is that even a thing?
Well,
telemarketers, are they even a thing anymore?
Probably, but I would imagine the effectiveness of it has just become not worth it. And this is just anecdotal, right? But with the federal do not call list that you put your numbers on, that lots of people do, the fact that nowadays, especially on cell phones, you can just block spam. It won't even come to you. And if you do get one, you can go into your phone and mark it spam. You'll never get it again. And
my wife does point out there is one form of sales call, real real estate texts or calls from real estate agents where they're like, "Hey, can I buy your house?" And I always tell them, I'm like, "Yeah, sure. If you want to pay an obscene amount that's not even close to its actual value."
Yeah. But I think the third reason that sales calls like that, just cold calling, probably still out there to a point, but doesn't work. Scams, right? We're so well aware of scams that somebody's trying to sell us something that we didn't call them. We don't deal with it as a society worldwide as much anymore. So yeah, those real estate texts, Kelsey. I used to get the, "Hey Brenda, your house on 363 Cherry Street," which is half a mile that way from my house, and I'm not Brenda, obviously. You're
not.
It's like, yeah, it's obviously a scam, right? You're like, "Oh well, I'm not Brenda, but would you like to buy my house?" Yeah, but that's again not a human. That's a robot. They just buy a phone list and text it out and hope to get some hooks. But yeah, Joe and I talked about that previously. He's like, "Oh yeah, somebody who just was persistent." We started. He separately. He interacts with his, interacts with mine. I'm not going to say that on air, but it actually made me laugh. So don't know. Hey, that's your algorithm, Papa. That's your algorithm. That's all I can say. All right, I'm gonna quote the TikTok Congress hearings. Anyway, that's enough about struggle jobs. So you made it through $50. Man, that's walking on faith, or just nothing else can happen to you. I don't know, but showing up with $50 in your pocket, nowhere to stay, ending up with an apartment and getting grants and everything else. That did you have to pay? Did you pay off those loans? Did everything?
Yeah. So the loans were just over $5,000 total, so not bad at all. And when I got my current job, well, I guess it's not technically my current job, but when I started working for my current company, they gave me a moving bonus because I was moving from Idaho to Tennessee. And so what that moving bonus is supposed to be is to cover temporary living expenses while you look for permanent housing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just lived with my in-laws while we were looking for permanent housing. And so we took that money, and within the first month of us being done with, of me being done with college, my loans were gone.
Yeah.
So
crazy, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I
roll that dice.
I applied for all kinds of financial aid to make sure that I didn't need to take out more loans, and I worked all through college. So
I had go ahead and roll the dice. I had some on-campus jobs. I was campus security. I worked in the kitchen at breakfast time at the big cafeteria. There's some jobs that you'll do that you can have some fun with during school to make it happen.
Yep, you got to do what you got to do.
How do I
live without you? Some personal story ideas. I can get back to our thing. What's our how do I, Jeff?
How do I model a healthy relationship for my children to learn from?
I have talked at length about this on many shows, including this one. So I'll keep mine short because I'm not sure if we've heard Joe's models, but mine absolutely is just being transparent, living out loud, apologizing for mistakes, discussing, those kind of things like, hey, this is what happened and I'm human and so on and so forth. But the biggest thing is if my wife and I have a fight, which is never quiet, even if you try to go behind closed doors, it's never quiet, right? When you're having a fight, we always made sure to apologize to each other in front of the kids as well. And to try to model that, along with charity work, giving, everything else, we said, hey, come with us. We're going to go do this thing to help people. That's how we've modeled it. I know everybody's heard this story. So, Joe, I want to hear yours. How do you model relationships, healthy relationships?
So my wife and I, we don't have a lot of arguments per se. And maybe that's just
that, right?
Well, and maybe that's just a phrasing, because we do have disagreements from time to time. And so it could be just our relationship with the term. But we we don't yell at each other. It never comes to that. But we disagree. We have differences of opinion. There are definitely been times where we've disagreed on how to handle our business at home and whatnot, and we discuss it. And when our kids approach us, we are very supportive of each other, even if we don't always agree in the moment. We have a unified front, and we stick to whatever snap decision is made, and then we have a discussion on how we want to handle it in the future, rather than how it was handled the first time.
Your healthiness makes me sick, sir.
And so, like, for instance, if I give the kids a punishment where I'm like, you can't have electronics tomorrow, really that ends up punishing my wife, because then she has to deal with kids who are fighting a lot more.
Sure.
Because that appears to be their default if they don't have a book or a video game or some other structured thing, is they fight, which we have been working very hard on making.
This is parenting plans. This is not how you model.
But that's part of it.
Okay.
That is the way you interact with your spouse is a huge.
No,
and I guess it's not.
But are you doing it? Or so you are having these discussions in front of the kids, or you're having them after they went to bed?
So we tell the boys that we will discuss later, and then the following day we will tell them a decision that was made. So we don't necessarily. Sometimes we'll discuss it in front of them, but not often. And so
what about like, I'm assuming you guys have family time where it's either story time or it's games or that kind of whole interaction. I imagine you really model some other relationship stuff there.
Yeah, so we strive to always have dinner together as a family. Regardless of what else is going on, we try to always have dinner together as a family, bare minimum, so that we can talk about how all of the kids' days went, and
there you go.
Get a beat on that. Yeah. And so we try to be present and knowledgeable about what our boys are doing, both academically and socially. And we strive to help them create healthy relationships with, especially like parasocial relationships, because they're going to talk to a lot of people online. Now, a lot of the people they talk to over Discord are people that they know in real life. But
yeah,
a lot of their interactions are online. And so there's a distinct difference in how they interact with their friends when it's over a Discord call versus when they're in person. And so we do have conversations with them about online etiquette and things like that. And so, the difference between being on a Discord call versus in a Discord chat, because it is a lot harder to understand the tone in a chat room versus in person in a Discord call. And so we have talked to them about things like that and how they phrase things, so that intent is more clear. And so it, beyond romantic relationships, every relationship is hard, but most of that comes down to communication. If you acquire skills to communicate effectively, that will help every aspect of your life.
And I'm not being funny. And if you don't have those skills, you go honest. sometimes. And my set one, you talked about fighting. They like to get in arguments when they're 5, 6, 7, and they're 18 months apart. So whatever age, you can subtract that. So one day I just was like, because I'm not that person. I really had zero relationship with my sister at all. One of my best friends, his sister's psycho and has been spoiled all her life. And that was a bad situation. My wife and her brother apparently had an okay relationship. But now as adults, it's strained and it's weird. So I wanted to make sure that they had more of that TV Hallmark relationship of no matter what, we're family kind of deal. And we'll always have each other, because I don't want them feeling like I felt having nobody in this world. So they get to fighting, and it finally went done. I mean, I'm talking about little pushing, little mouthing, little whatever, little angry. Like, no, stand right here, ball up your fists, punch each other. And they're like, and I tried to force them into doing it. I kind of pushed them into each other, like to start something. And of course, they didn't see. That's the thing; they didn't really want to fight, but I was making them confront it right then and there. Now, had either
it's like those people that tie their kids together or make them wear one giant shirt.
Stop jumping to the end, sir. Stop jumping to the end. So yeah, don't spoil the ending just because you've seen this whole anime 3 times. So they obviously didn't really want to fight, but I'm making them bluntly confront that. So I said, okay, since y'all won't actually punch it out, then here. And I went and got a t-shirt and put it over both of them. Like, I set a timer on my watch or my phone or whatever. It said 5 minutes. Guess who stopped fighting? For all day. But that's also because I never fought, and that's why I try to teach them is I don't have to fight. I get everything I want in life and the story. I work for it or work around it, but I get it. And yeah, so it's now I see the note here. I see the note. Where's my mouse? I lost my mouse, Joe.
It went for the cheese and got stuck.
Yeah, Malachi is in his tween angsty push all the buttons phase. Let old Uncle Charlie for a weekend. The only rule is we don't talk about Fight Club. He can't come home and tell you what happened. That's all. So I'll fix that. I'll fix that real fast for you. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he gets into downward spirals where he just keeps losing more and more privileges because he keeps trying to push the envelope.
We need America's Dad, Stephen H&H, on to talk about this, because I mean, you want to talk about spirals, man. You want to talk about the ARD method this John put up there. Yeah, no, Joe makes me sick with his healthy emotional relationships he has with his wife and his kids. I just can't stand it. But Stephen makes Joe look like me, and that makes me look like a child abuser, which I'm not. But Stephen is, and he just wish Stephen was my dad. That's all I'm saying. So I would like to hear from you. How do you model your relationship? Speakpipe is wiseandnerdy.com/calldad. And just 90 seconds. It sounds like it's short time, but it's not. You got a lot of time there. Just let us know, modeling relationships. I touched on the husband-wife thing. We touched on community, right? We touched on how we interact with people. And I will always deal with somebody that makes me angry. And if my kids see it, then I will talk to them about that and what I was feeling, what I went through, because they don't always see the emotion on your face or what you're feeling, right? They don't always see that, the anger or frustration or whatever. So
you just got to strap them to a chair and make them watch Leave It to Beaver on reruns. Just keep watching it.
Why are you triggering me? That's exactly what happened. I turned out.
Roll that dice. Roll that dice.
All right, here we go.
We've already done that one. Literally just did that one. Nope, already done those two. This is a bad night for me. There we go. Oh, those are both the ones we're waiting on.
You know which one you have to do.
I know which one you want me to do.
Dad jokes are like Mojo Jojo. They're bad.
Yes, you heard it. You heard it here. He wants the bad dad jokes. He wants them.
I hate
that's what he
show.
That's what he said. He wants the bad dad jokes.
I hate you now. I hate ending the show on bad dad jokes. I just hate it.
All right. So we do not have any Speakpipe bad dad jokes. So we're going to have to go to our Discord. And if you want to get in.
No? Okay, sorry.
No,
I thought,
Devocite sent a bunch of Speakpipes, but not one for a bad dad joke. If you want to get into our Discord, you can head on over to linktree/wise_n_nerdy, and you can leave your own bad dad jokes in here if you don't want to actually call them
I've been blocked from that room.
It's true. You've been blocked from that room on both of your Discord accounts.
Yeah, I started getting notifications like, why are y'all torturing me? And Joe's like, you're not supposed to be in this room, and he kicked me out.
It's true. All right. So this one, it still comes to us from Devocite. What is a grandfather's favorite music?
Old time, I don't know.
Hip hop. Oh,
That's like the one when I was 8 and I read it in a joke book and I went and told my dad. I'm trying to remember it. It's like, why did the kid put ice cubes in the dad's bed? He wanted a cool pop or something like that, a cold pop. I don't know. It's so bad. It's so bad. Did you use all the ones that Ryland gave to you?
yeah. He gave that to me. It wasn't at this past Dragon Con, it was the Dragon Con before.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used all of those. I've got some more in here from Devo. We can keep going.
You've already hit me with 2 or 3 throughout the show.
How do you make 7 even?
7, 8, 9. I don't know.
Take the S out.
All right. I can't with you. Time for the Parliament of Papas. So I do love this one. Great little debate here. Strict bedtime routines or flexible schedules. What's better for the kids and the parents? And that is 2 distinctly different conversations sometimes. Sometimes they overlap in a Venn diagram, but that's that. So, Joe, let's ping pong this back and forth. What's your first one? What's the first thing you're going to tackle here?
Obviously you have to make concessions when you need to fit your schedule, but I think in general a strict bedtime routine, especially for younger kids, it helps out way more both for the parents and the adults. But that's, I agree. Again, that's for younger kids.
Define younger for you.
Under teenagers, so 12 and under.
See, I would go 6 and under.
Oh, okay.
But there's a reason. We'll get to that. But yes, I fully agree. Babies need their cycles. They need their sleep. Toddlers, all that stuff. So yeah, I think stricter bedtimes, whatever you define as younger, at younger ages. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Well, cool. And I think it's also very important to have a set routine because it gets them
different than a strict bedtime for me.
See, and it mentally prepares them for, okay, you're now in the zone. It is bedtime. And so we do basically the same thing every night. Kelsey and I do with our boys. So you got to find what works for you.
Little NyQuil, yeah.
Yeah, a little. That's the essential oil everyone needs.
Judge.
That's the essential oil that everyone needs. The one that puts the kids to bed. Chloroform.
Josh says I need a bedtime routine or I get grumpy.
Yeah, we take our boys up. We listen to some music while they take turns getting bathed or taking a shower or whatever. And then we read a little bit of scriptures and have our family prayer. And after that, we read some books with our boys and they go to bed.
I'm just picturing the scripture this is full Joard, right? Just calm, loving dad. And from the ocean came the beast with the 7 heads. And she was to the Father, good night, boys.
And then we read with our boys, and that's our normal routine. Like right now, my older boys and we trade off because eventually we'll read with all of them at the same time, but Jebediah is a fair bit younger than the other 2, and so the books that they would read wouldn't necessarily captivate him. He needs a lot more pictures than what they're currently reading. So when my wife reads with them, the older boys, they're working on a series called Wings of Fire. And then when I read with them, we're working on the Aragon series. Whereas with Jebediah, I'm working on the Jedi Academy series. It's about a little boy who wanted to be a fighter pilot with the rebellion. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been the rebellion because it was before the Empire took over. But anyway, he wanted to be a fighter pilot, and he was rejected from fighter pilot school and ends up at the Jedi Academy instead. And so,
yeah,
it's cute.
When my kids were little, we did story times and wind down times. And I mean, there's some rough housing and different things like that to get some energy out, which I always loved. But what reason I say about 6 or 7, now we do make them go to bed, but we let them have a little bit more flexibility. Because I remember how I grew up. And I don't mean the strictness in the rules, because that was always there. I mean, I hurt myself energetically, right? With, well, I'm going to wait till my parents go to bed and outlast them. And I always could hear them coming down the hall. I mean, I've always had really sharp hearing. And so I'd hear them coming down the hall and I'd pretend to be asleep, put my book away, whatever. I've always had good eyesight until my adult life. But I would read books. We always had night lights and little things for whatever reason, which I tried to steer my kids away from, to be honest. But I would hide, right? And my parents would go to bed. I would start sneaking out of my room and staying up and watching TV and stuff, and especially into my teenage years and those kind of things. And there are definitely times, because you don't pay attention to time at that age. You're just kind of doing your thing, and you have unlimited energy until you hit that wall. And I remember more than once, sneaking out to the living room, watching TV quietly or with headphones or whatever, and then starting to see the sun come up and go, oh crap. And then maybe get 2 hours of sleep before my mom's dragging me out of bed, dumping water on me in the bed to wake me up. She thought I was just a heavy sleeper, because I became a ninja, because I knew how to hide my track. Every time I got in trouble for something, I didn't learn not to do it. I learned to hide my tracks and hide it better. And I became very good. So I knew that was in me. And I just saw the patterns in all 4 of my kids now. They get to, it's a little bit later. I mean, 6 gave them some more freedom, because I'm trying to give them freedoms to choose and then show them patterns matter. And they'd always be in bed before midnight. And also, when it's the weekend or there's holidays or something where, no. Okay, I'm sorry. Pinpoint that for the podcast. It says, you're a bit too tall, and you meant big, and that's fine. I don't care. Tall, big, all the same. Too tall to be a ninja. Oh, no, sir. No, sir. I cannot tell you how many people I just walked into a room, because I don't stomp around. I don't carry myself as a big, loud brute. I have learned to carry myself with some style and grace, because I don't like being the bull in the china shop, but I'm not sneaking up on people. But I tell you, I have stuck up on so many people, like, oh my God, I didn't know you were there. And I say it without fail every time. I'm the biggest ninja you'll never meet.
All they have to do is listen for your creaky knees.
Why are you keeping violence tonight? 1, they don't creak, they grind, and that's different. But 2, I'm definitely going to court your children now. All right. So, well, yeah. Speaking of correcting children, trying to give them some agency so they start seeing the reasons they do things. So around between 6 and 8, depending on the kid, they're like, well, can we stay up a little bit later? Sure. We start getting some, because we also homeschooled most of their lives. Now, when they had to get up for school or anything else the next day, we're like, no, we're teaching them the plan as you should, like an adult, which most of us don't. Hey, you got to get up tomorrow for work, or you got to get up tomorrow for this thing. You got to get up. So tonight you're going to go to bed and get ready for bed, that kind of thing. And without fail, I think Zoe's the last one to hit it. She's about to be 12. So in her 10 to 12 year range, she was the last one to start staying up all night. And we don't get up in the middle of the night. All our stuff is self-contained in our bedroom. So our bathroom's there, everything. So we don't see them, and they don't need to turn on lights. They're used to I don't like a whole lot of light in my house. I like to keep it dim and darker, and it's a power bill thing, but also it's just a mood thing. So they've learned to just walk through the halls or turn on a little flashlight or something. So there's not any lights on that indicate they're up. But there's always evidence. So instead of getting them in trouble the next day, I talked to them about, you can't do this. Patterns of sleep matter. And the hardest one was Ryland. And I literally got to the point where I drug him out of bed and made him go to work with me. Because I said, I'm going to teach you what life is going to teach you. I'm going to do it more gently, even though it doesn't feel that way. And he gets it better now that he's 13. So we're already kind of ahead of that. But the teenagers, they've learned, if I choose to mess around, but with an F, I'm going to find out, right? And they've had to get up and go to work after screwing up and not going to bed till 3 or 4 in the morning and having to be up at 7. And it's like, but this is the time you learn that lesson, because you have that energy to push through. So that's that one. But now, what's better for the kids versus the parents, Joseph? Structured or flexible?
Like I said, when they're younger, I think the structured is definitely better. But when they're older, I imagine, for both. When they're older, I imagine flexible will probably be better for both. But again, my oldest is 12, so I don't know.
For the parent, structured is always better, because wait, it's bedtime. I don't have to deal with your crap. You see that light at the end of the tunnel if you're having a really long day with the kid. All right, it's almost 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, bedtime. There was a time when we wanted to have mommy daddy time, right? And my wife was like, we gotta wait till the kids go to bed. And it only happened so often. I was like, you do know, as they get older, they're gonna stay up later than us. So we got to come up with a different plan than waiting until they go to bed, because they are not. They're our children. We free flow through the world. I mean, you've met me. Aaron's a little more structured than I am, but not by much. We just adapt to where our lives are. So there's not going to be that structure in our house. I think structure is probably always better for everybody. John talked about how I needed my bedtime routine, or I get grumpy. Odyssey's the morning routine. Don't engage with me. Don't talk. I'm not grumpy, but I don't want to mess with you at all. I don't want to interact with you. Joe knows that. He's almost got punched a few times. And it's not, I need my coffee. Everybody says, oh, Charles needs his coffee. No, Charles gets his coffee because I like my coffee, and it keeps my hand from punching you because I'm holding the mug instead of punching you. That's what that's for.
You make me think of that scene from I can't remember which Transformers it is, but don't talk to me, criminal. that's your morning.
Kind of. So honestly, I travel enough. I do have to have my fan, my box fan. I need that white noise, and I like the air motion as well, so I have to have both. So I travel for that. But I will find that, I get to doom scrolling or mess around. There's always something else engaging you, right? So I'll put on, I love Dave Matthews Band, and it's just light. And I'll put on Dave Matthews Band and turn it way low on speaker and just go to sleep with that. And it's just, for me, the best sleep. And that's not something I can do with my wife, because noises bother her. I mean, we have the fan, but she hears, the dogs get up or whatever. So so that's it. But I don't really have a structure for myself as a parent, but my kids are like, hey, roughly about 9:30, 10, they start disappearing. Like, go to your rooms, hang out on your tablets. You guys go out to your sheds, whatever. We're going to play some video games. Leave us alone. I'm not sure what I missed here. I'm not guilty. I ate the whole plate. I don't know what I missed on that one.
Oh, that's from that same scene in Transformers where he ate all the donuts or whatever.
I honestly don't remember that part. I need to go rewatch. I like the Transformers movies.
Yeah,
rewatch them.
They're in custody, and he's like, something like they put the plate out in front of you. Yeah. If you're guilty, you won't eat it. And he like slams down the plate. I ate the whole plate.
Yeah.
And then and then I think the sugar rush is what gets to, plus the guilt, Don't talk to me, criminal.
All right. It's been a great show tonight. All you daddy-os coming out. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, especially Papa. We loved having you come here. Come back.
I love a good pun in a name, and especially when it's edgy like that. But the statement they made, that is your algorithm, bud. That's all you. So, all right. Till next week, we love you all, daddy-os. Come on back.
Daddy-os!
Charles at Rock God of Podcasting, Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
And you can find both of us on Wait You Haven't Seen by TV Travis. And when your kids do catch you, you just say, at least mommy and daddy love each other.
My kids don't catch me. I'm a ninja.
That even made me move the marker. That's so good. Oh, that's good.